This hacker was able to gain access to the deepest, darkest corner of the internet, and what he saw there is the stuff of nightmares. Hacked into the part of the deep web we aren't supposed to see. I'll assume you all know about the deep web. Well, what you've heard is true. It's not a great place. While some people are there to score, or even out of sheer curiosity, others, well, they're not up to anything good. But I'm not here to talk about these sickos. I'm here to talk about what lies beyond that point. The more cryptic and unexplainable part of the internet. The part that nobody's supposed to see. There was an infographic that cropped up a while ago. 8 levels of the internet. Maybe you've seen it. But I'm not going to lie, it's complete bull. Sorry, but the polymeric falsigal derivation means nothing. And the Primark system, well, somebody must have been a fan of Warhammer. There are no quantum mechanics involved here. However, that doesn't mean it was an easy place to find. Now, I'm not going to begin and tell you how to get there. It's unlikely that you'd be able to even if I did. I'm not tooting my own horn. I just didn't have a life outside of this.
Are you looking to make a podcast? Well, Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter where your setup is or what it is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else your podcast can be heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take your conversations with your fans to the next level, Q&A polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, it's changed my podcasting game. It's getting me traction I never thought I would get. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. I hope to hear you soon.
I was warned, of course. Everybody told me I wasn't going to like what I saw. I wouldn't even understand it. Now I'm passing off that warning to you. Try not to look for this. There's no official name for this place, or at least I haven't seen one. I can tell you it's called the Mariana's Web. The rumors surrounding it, however, range from an Illuminati chat room to a virtual holding cell for an experimental AI gone rogue. In reality, it's a lot worse. After a long and painful process of breaking down firewalls and descriptions, solving bizarre philosophical riddles, and following hidden links, I was finally able to crack it and was directed to a page that was blank with one line of text and a text box underneath it. Quid quieres, Latin, for what do you seek? I remember feeling surprised, but in retrospect, I didn't know what I was expecting. I'll admit, I was a bit stumped here, partly because I didn't know the answer to that question. I had no objective. I just wanted to see if I could do it. I tried some generic answers at first. I typed in the truth, enlightenment, matrix stuff. Nothing happened. I tried a bunch of answers, but none of them worked. I was getting frustrated at this point. Maybe this was a gag. Maybe I hadn't figured out anything. If only I tried something off the wall. Not sure why this came to me, or why I thought it might work. I typed in, what also seeks me. Now that I begin to think about it, this thing might have been AI. To my surprise, the page went blank, like fully blank. And I waited. After about 5 minutes, I was directed to what looked like a forum. No, not even that. It was more basic. Just a list of links over a brownish yellow background. The links themselves were indecipherable. Just seemingly random sequences of characters, symbols, and letters. A lot of them I'd never seen before. It almost looked like an alien language. Just code I didn't understand at this point. Expectations were off the wall. Each link was a shot in the dark. I clicked the first one. It loaded up a live feed of what seemed to be the Paris catacombs. It was a shaky video in a dark setting, but I could make out men in tactical gear. They were in a house, opening doors, sweeping each room. Eventually, they kicked one down, revealing a tall humanoid creature with scaly skin. It was gnawing on what looked like an animal leg. They tried shooting at it, and it would escape out the window. The video stopped. Well, I was floored. What the hell was that? It looked too real to be unreleased film footage. I was officially intrigued. Maybe this was worth the months of headaches and bloodshot eyes. I couldn't stop now. I started working down the list of links with each click. Everything got more and more bizarre, more disturbing. I stumbled upon a document called the Paragon Project, detailing trials of human experimentation that would lead to superhuman levels of strength and durability. It was an apparent success. It looked official too. There were essays on space-time anomalies, glitches in reality, and apparent pictures of alternate dimensions. There were detailed explanations regarding Area 51 and the Bermuda Triangle. Even assassinations, disappearances, and the true nature of the Holy Grail. One of the more upsetting ones was a document referring to a world-ending bomb, a nuke, 720,000 times stronger than the one dropped on Hiroshima. I don't know why we would want that or even need that. I found a contingency plan for different kinds of apocalypses, nuclear winter, biological weapons, and viral outbreaks. Some more peculiar ones were the ones that referred to the Marianas Trench abnormality, the bluntly labeled strange man on the 15th floor. One simply referred to the blackout, recovered logs, skinwalkers, hunting expeditions, 911 calls from residents of a town in Texas that went missing in 1977. And even the journals of the people involved in the Dyatlov Pass incident. They didn't go insane because of the snow. I spent hours on there, looking through pages and pages of things I felt like I wasn't supposed to see. I came across the trailer for a silent film made back in 1910 that made people claw their after watching. It almost derailed the whole industry. There was a live stream of a hooded man sitting in front of a camera. He was crouched down. Eventually, he lifted his head. Even though he had no mouth, a deep, guttural hello came through my speakers. Somehow I knew it came from him. I didn't stick around for that. There was a series of step-by-step guides that involved things like creating Frankenstein-like creatures, performing religious incantations in the middle of the Siberian forest, and going to the coordinates that has captive fallen angels. It was unclear what any of these were supposed to achieve. There were also 20-second long clips titled The Futility of the Living. I didn't watch it. That's when I realized there was no way even the highest form of organized government had full control of this. One of the scariest things about this whole experience was that I didn't find the end of the list, no matter how far I scrolled down. I think I eventually had a meltdown and passed out because I woke up on my floor in the middle of the night. I looked at my computer screen to see a looped helicopter footage of massive crab-like creature tearing apart a coastal island. I clicked off it and just sat there for the longest time. I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing, and don't think I wanted to know. I'm not sure why I kept going. My brain was screaming for me to take the computer out my lawn and smash it into pieces, but I didn't. I noticed something I hadn't before, a small message at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. I don't know if it was always there or not. In order to read it, I had to squint. More Latin translated into, "Are you satisfied?" There were two options underneath. It was a yes or a no. Now I knew the answer to this question. No, I wasn't satisfied. I was horrified and scared, scarred for life. I shouldn't have, but I clicked on no. If I'd have just clicked on yes, it would have taken me out of that godforsaken place, back to comfort and sanity. Even right now, I can't tell you why I clicked no, but once I did, the top page seemed to refresh. It was still the same basic setup, except there was only 4 links. This time, there were no recognizable numbers, characters, anything. Hell, I didn't even know what it was. I had never come across it in this world, just a collection of extremely crude symbols that didn't give off any sense of pattern or direction. I clicked on the first link. After about 20 seconds, I slammed my computer shut. I can't describe to you what I saw. All I know is that it wasn't supposed to be seen by anybody in this world. Nobody should ever see something like this. I couldn't begin to grasp the images I was seeing. It wasn't graphic or anything like that. I just couldn't recognize it. I could not make out things moving in a way that I've never seen any creature move on this earth. Colors that I've never seen before. Just thinking about it gives me a splitting headache. This is my best attempt at visualizing it. We have 3 dimensions here on Earth. We can move forwards, backwards, left, right, 72.4 degrees southwest, etc. These things weren't restricted to any of that. I can't explain it any further. All I know is that I didn't want to watch it for one more second. I don't think I would have been able to. I left my room for the first time in a while. I was planning on leaving my house. I needed fresh air to take a walk or something. Hell, I was thinking about running a marathon in the middle of the night just to get my mind off the crap for a few hours. I was putting on my jacket when I heard a knock at the door. I stopped dead in my tracks. I wasn't opening up. About a minute and 5 more knocks before somebody spoke up. "We know what you did, but we're not here to hurt you. We just want to talk." The tone wasn't threatening. Eventually, I obliged. I opened up my door, two tall, slim men in suits. They smiled. Can we come in? I still don't know how they found me. I thought I for sure was off the grid. We sat down on the couch. I guess I was just waiting for answers at this point. One of them looked at me and said, "Well, did you find what you were looking for?" "I don't know, but I'm not going back," I responded. He smiled again like this is what he wanted to hear. The other one piped up, "Whom do you work for?" His tone was a bit more aggressive. I just shook my head. Look, I didn't know what I was getting into. I wasn't looking for anything. They just stared at me for a while. "I'm not going to tell anybody, trust me," they finally responded. "We're not worried about that. Doubt anybody would believe you anyway." Another smile, somehow it felt genuine. "We just want to know what your priorities were." In retrospect, that was a very strange question. "Just do us a favor and we'll leave." I perked up. "Give us the device that you use to access it." I didn't ask any questions. I ran upstairs and tossed them my laptop. They both smirked at me one last time before heading for the door. Just as they were about to leave, one of them turned back and said, "I don't think you'll need to be told, but don't try this again, or show anybody else how to get there." "Don't worry," I replied. I didn't ask who they were. I'm not sure I would have wanted to know. It's been a week now. I don't go on the internet so much anymore after this. I'm going to try and forget, not to try and think about it anymore. I've started having horrific nightmares. Been seeing a therapist for a while, but don't think it's helping. Anyways, I'm not going to let this consume the rest of my life. The thing is, I'm afraid this might not be possible. There are some things we aren't supposed to know about, probably for our own safety and sanity. Don't try and seek them out. It's better that way. However, it might be too late for me. Well, what do y'all think? Crazy, right? I just thought in lieu of my Mariana's Web post that was actually an awesome story to go along with it. Obviously, it is alleged to be a fictional tale, but it's one of those Reddit things, you know what I'm saying? You know the story behind those. Sometimes they say it's real people just telling a true story as a story. Hard to say. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is there really a Mariana's Web? And if so, and also, what would we find there that would blow your mind? Stuff like that giant crab story. What? That is crazy. Then, the guy with no mouth, etc. There was other more graphic stuff that I left out of the tale because of, PG purposes. But nevertheless, crazy, awesome story. And watch out for my live. We're probably going to move it to Saturday night at around 11 p.m. I'm going to put a reminder up on my page and schedule it. So be on the lookout. Lives are happening consistently at least once a week now. So stay tuned. Stay in the love, stay in the light, be kind to others. I am out. Something terrifying happened at Chernobyl that they don't want the public to know about. You've probably heard about tourism in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Dmitry had been there several times himself, and it's not like what you would see in the games or horror movies. There are no ghosts, mutants, or radioactive anomalies, and death isn't waiting for you at every corner. Actually, it's one of the prettiest and most peaceful places on Earth. An example of strength of Mother Nature and how it can reverse even after the damage humans have caused it. Thus, when Dmitry's friend Alex decided to go there, he knew who to contact. He's a physics student, and right now he's doing some kind of research on nuclear fallout, and he said that he wanted to get some direct measurements and samples, but we both knew that it's just an excuse to go on an adventure. They visited the old power plant, the abandoned city, Pripyat, and the surrounding exclusion zone. It was nice, but it would probably just bore you with more details. That part is not important anyway. They were driving on some dirt roads in a forest east of Pripyat when they found it. An old rusty fence and a chain gate that blocked any further passage. There was a big sign with a radiation hazard symbol and it captioned, "Restricted area, authorized personnel only." There was a pair of massive metal blast doors in the shape of a V, lying in an artificial-looking hill not far behind the fence, with a large white O13 painted on it, and "No entry" sprayed on the top. "What do you think it is?" Alex asked. "I don't know. Looks like some kind of bunker," Dmitry replied. "And it looks like it has been closed for some time," Dmitry added after a closer look at the doors. Both halves were welded shut in the center. Alex took his samples and readings, but we were too puzzled to leave just yet. Do you think we can get in? Dmitri asked. Well, not this way for sure. Even if it wasn't welded shut, I'm sure we have no way of unlocking it, Alex replied while examining the massive doors. It looks like an underground bunker. They must have had a way to get air inside, and I don't think this is it. There has to be another way to get in, Dmitri said. They circled the main entrance to find another means of entry. The day was already coming to an end, and it was slowly getting darker. As they were searching, a thought crossed Dmitri's mind. Why would they weld the doors? What's so important inside that they went this far to keep people away? Look, there's something there. Alex pulled Dmitri away from his thoughts. It was a concrete block, a couple of meters large, with what looked like vents on the sides. As Dmitri looked into the vents, he noticed that they were also sealed with heavy-looking steel hatches, and no clear way to open them. However, there was also a smaller door labeled Servi Tunnel, with a large wheel on the outside. Should I open it? Dmitri asked. Yeah, I really wonder what this is. Anyway, we don't have to go in. At least we'll see if the door still works. At first, the wheel wouldn't turn because of all the rust and dirt, but eventually, it started to budge and slowly unlocked. Dmitri pulled it slowly and it started opening. It was very heavy and took a lot of force. Behind the door, there was a small platform in a tight vertical tunnel with a ladder. What caught his attention was that there was an identical looking mechanism on the inside, locking mechanism, and it meant that they could lock the door from both sides. But why? We were lucky because if they had locked it from the inside too, there would be no way to get in. Dmitri stepped inside and shined his phone light down the shaft. It wasn't strong enough to hit the bottom. The air was damp and old, and there was something that he couldn't identify, a faint chemical-like smell. There was no radiation or any signs of other hazards. You've got to be kidding me. This is so cool. We have to come back here later and check it out, Alex said. I couldn't agree more. It was almost dark now, so they resealed the door and called it a day. But they promised themselves to return. Dmitri immediately tried to do some research when he got home, unfortunately with no success. He even tried to call Pavel, a friend of his who knew the area better than him. Actually, it was he who brought Dmitri there for the first time. He couldn't help him either, but promised to ask around. I told him about our plan and asked if he wouldn't go with us, but unfortunately, he was out of the country for a while. A week later, they packed their gear and headed out. They brought some heavy rope, flashlights, glow sticks, gauger counters, waterproof protective gloves, and an oxygen meter and a small emergency scuba tank just in case. And yeah, they're not stupid, so they told their relatives and friends about their trip and when they were expecting to return. They closed the door behind them and they descended down the access shaft. They couldn't know what's down there, and they didn't want to cause a radiation leak or something like that. They eventually dropped down into a concrete tunnel, which enclosed the air vents and some smaller pipes. There was obviously no power, and thus no lights. Good thing they brought their own. They followed the tunnel and reached another door, but this time it was a regular one, not the heavy bunker type. They went through and entered a room with 4 large air pumps and some electrical equipment and controls. The ventilation shaft splits here into 2 larger ones that ran straight into the ground and 2 smaller ones that went straight across the room where there was another set of doors. Behind the doors, there was a large hall with numerous boxes, crates, and other cargo just laying around. Behind the checkpoint, they found the main door that they had seen from the outside. Just next to it, there was some heavy lifting equipment. They returned through the checkpoint and took a look at a set of elevator doors. There was a simple map with the layout of the facility floor by floor. We were on floor 0, the main entry hall. There were another 4 floors below us. Floor 1, offices, security, and recreation. Floor 2, secure laboratories. Floor 3, accelerator, clean room, decontamination. Floor 4, experiment site. The map was titled Object 13. It wasn't a military bunker. This was a research site. We took a set of stairs since the elevators were of no use without power. An unsettling thought brushed my mind as we were descending. They probably were moving some supplies and then left them there and took the equipment to the main door. Were they trying to get out? Dmitri stepped on another step, but something rolled away under his foot. He lost his balance and fell on his back. His pack luckily absorbed the impact. He looked under his feet to see what caused his fall. Empty bullet casings. This wasn't the sole reason he felt odd about this. As soon as he got to level 1, he noticed every single door was open. Every single one. There was a canteen and a kitchen right at the beginning of a very long, rectangular corridor. Various offices surrounded the corridor. There was the regular stuff, paperwork, old computers, personal belongings, all right there where they left it. Did they leave in a hurry? Dmitri, Alex called from the other side of the canteen opposite of the corridor. What? Was all I could say when I followed him to the canteen. There was food still neatly served on the tables, but it wasn't spoiled. It wasn't fresh either. But how is this possible? Dmitri asked. I don't know. Maybe it was irradiated or something, but it's not anymore. I checked that. I really don't know, man, he answered, as puzzled as they both were. Oh, why didn't we just turn back and leave? Now that I'm writing this, there were so many red flags already. Something really wrong happened down there. But I guess we were too excited and curious. But it was at this point that Dimitri's excitement started to fade and be replaced with an eerie feeling. Nevertheless, they continued and descended down to level 2. The stairwell ended there, and to go deeper, they would have to cross the entire floor to reach another one at the opposite end. There was a security checkpoint and a large blast door that they had to pass to reach the labs. Again, every door was wide open. However, the things that people left there weren't neatly placed where they should have been. It was a mess everywhere. There were all kinds of rooms with all kinds of equipment that we didn't understand. Occasionally, there were more empty bullet casings on the ground. There still was the one central rectangular corridor as above, but the rooms around it were like a little maze. Almost at the side of the other floor, we found the head scientist's office. As I said, everywhere it was a mess, but I found a logbook on the desk. There was only a handful of pages, the rest torn out. October 5th, 1984. Today, we successfully managed to translocate several atoms without changes in any physical properties. It's going to be a long road until we transport solid subjects, but we're doing some good work here. January 17th, 1985. We managed to transport an apple today. However, I couldn't help but notice that the patch of red and green skin on top was slightly different, but it was still the same apple, with the same structure and shape. We also tried to transport some electronics. They were unharmed and in working order. I think that we still have a lot to perfect and learn about this technology, but we cannot slow down. The country is relying on us. 21st of February, 1985. After the animal trials, we translocated our first human today. He is alive and healthy, a brave hero of our nation. We have proven that this technology works now, but the practicality is still very limited due to the fixed translocation ratio. We still cannot send matter, only exchange the positions of two equally massive objects. I have proposed a new type of device that could possibly achieve one-way translocation of just a single object, but it would need an immense amount of energy. May 1st, 1985. Our superiors accepted my proposal. They're going to build a new, much bigger translocator here in the power plant so we can use a nuclear reactor as a direct power source. There's one more thing. We've now translocated dozens of test subjects. Each one is alive and well, but sometimes they are a little bit, different. They sometimes claim that various events in the past happened differently than they really did. Sometimes they claim to know people who don't exist, or more alarming, they know people who they are not supposed to know. The following was written below, with a pencil by hand. Test subject 28 was speaking an unknown language and couldn't understand any real language after the experiment. There was a lot of missing pages after this. 25th of April 1986. We are going to try to change our approach. It's been more than a year and we're still unsuccessful in eliminating the translocation symmetry anomaly. We still even don't know what is causing it, but we are not going to make any progress this way. Today, we are going to try to access the conduit reality instead. Even though Unit 2, the one we built in the power plant, is still new, we are going to use it for this experiment. Who knows what wonders are waiting for us on the other side. There was one last page in the logbook. On it, it was just a single phrase, written again and again. We let them in. Alex, I think we should go, Dimitri said. Man, come take a look at this, he answered. Dimitri stepped out of the lab and back into the hallway. There were clothes all over the corridor. Well, what was left of them, they were torn to shreds. No bodies, no blood. Just strips of cloth and an occasional shoe or a watch. I looked up and stared down the dark corridor in front of us. Just stood there for a while. It was, I don't know, as if something torn all these people to shreds and then cleaned it up. Except the clothes and other non-organic material. A wave of pure instinctive dread washed over me. I couldn't move. I didn't even breathe. Let's just get out of here, Alex said. We turned around and walked away, slowly at first, but quickened our pace. Our footsteps echoed across the underground structure. We just want to be out of here, man. I just want to be out of here, man. We shouldn't have done this, Alex said. I didn't tell him about the logbook, but my thoughts were cut short after a sudden realization. His voice didn't echo. It was just our footsteps. I think he realized it too, because we both stopped and listened. Nothing, just silence. I stepped forward. Clack. I took another step. Click. There was this door just in front of us, and I forced myself to try something. I closed it behind us as we passed it and placed a glass beaker that I found on the ground on top. I took a step forward. Silence. Maybe it was just an echo after all, I thought. We walked away carefully at first, but then we once again quickened our pace. We turned around a corner, and then it happened. Crash! The glass shattered. Someone or something is following us. It obviously just opened the door. We dropped all our gear except our lights and ran as fast as we could. I didn't even know I could run this fast. I always tried to be a tough guy, but I was never so scared in my life. Our footsteps didn't echo anymore, or better said, they weren't in sync with ours anymore. Something was running after us. Each second it was getting closer and closer. As soon as we reached the security checkpoint, we started closing the door. The rusty joint of the door squealed in protest, but we pulled it with all our strength. We almost had it closed when we heard a loud, guttural, and unnatural growl. The door slammed shut, and I threw the wheel into the locked position. My heart was pounding so hard that it was all I heard for a while. No, wait, it wasn't my heart. It was that thing pounding on the locked blast door. We were running again. We reached the stairwell and ran up, taking 2 to 3 steps at once. We finally reached the air pump room. The ascent really exhausted us, and even though I was scared shitless, I felt like I would pass out if I took another step forward. Besides, we locked it down there. But we forgot the vents. Alex and I looked at each other, our eyes met, and then the vent burst open and he was gone. I only heard him scream as he was dragged back down the corridor. Dimitri felt terrible for doing this, but he just ran. He climbed the service shaft and locked the service door shut. He was finally out of this hell. As soon as he had phone service again, his phone started beeping with loads and loads of missed call and messages from Pavel. Hey Dimitri, I found this guy. He says he knows what O13 is. Please pick up as soon as you can. He says it's dangerous. And you should stay out of it. This guy is calling me now. He sounds serious. Please call me back as soon as you can. I don't know what's going on, but he's going there. Please, I hope you get this before you go down. Stay safe, my friend. There was also one message from an unknown number. Dimitri, this is Anatoly Moroz. I know what you found, and I'm on my way from Kiev right now. Do not go down there. If you already did and you managed to get out, lock the door that you used to get in and make sure it stays locked. I will try to call you when I'm here. So here I am, writing this while I wait. I do this to make sure that no one else repeats our mistake, since I don't know if I'll live long enough to tell anyone personally. I just can't leave Alex behind. I have to go back. So there you have it, fam. What did they run into in Chernobyl? And did you notice the gentleman was coming from Kiev? Apparently Chernobyl was actually in modern-day Ukraine, but back then it was still part of the Soviet Union. I hope you all enjoyed this story on this awesome Memorial Day weekend. Someday, soon, possibly, it may be continued. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I hope you liked it. Stay in the love, stay in the light. Be kind to others. I am out.
Did China really make a recent discovery of uncharted lands? And are these uncharted lands inhabited with new species of dinosaur? As always, folks, my content is for entertainment purposes only and may or may not be true. I provide the information and let you decide. According to TikToker at RavenGuru2, you see pictured here, not only have they found uncharted lands, but they've discovered new species of dinosaur as well. And yes, you heard me correctly, that's species, not just one, but 2 species of dinosaur were allegedly discovered by a team of 15 scientists on an expedition on this uncharted land. You might be wondering how she obtained this information. Well, sit back, grab your popcorn, and relax, because it's about to get crazy. According to Raven, about a week ago, she was at the local nail salon getting her fake nails removed as she was starting a new job. This was because the job was at a factory and required manual labor. So after arriving at the nail salon, they quickly sat her down and the nail tech began her work. About a half hour later, they were wrapping things up, when suddenly, something strange happened. Out of nowhere, all the nail techs just stopped their work and they turned towards their television that was on the Chinese news network. Normally, she wouldn't think much of it, but she could tell by the way they were fixated on the television that it must be something good. She also knew, as well as you and I do, that Chinese people are very hard workers. So for them to stop working and all of them fixate to the TV, that must mean something big is going on. And of course, the broadcast was in Chinese, so she decided to bust out her Google Translate and record the TV set. And as she followed along on Google Translate, she couldn't believe what she was reading. In fact, she was in such disbelief that she even asked her nail tech to confirm that it was the actual broadcast that they were watching. And she did just that. After reading the Google translation, she told Raven, "Yup, that's exactly what was said." According to the translation, the broadcast stated that China had just discovered uncharted territory, lands that had never been set foot on. And on these uncharted lands, prehistoric life was still thriving. Tens of thousands of dinosaurs inhabited the lands, with the 15 scientists immediately noticing at least 2 new species. So as you can imagine with such a discovery, the team was ecstatic. But that was very short-lived, because after a couple days, some of the team members started disappearing. One by one, as they were running their routine checks they had done 1,000 times, they kept disappearing, seemingly without a trace. No sound, no screams,
Nobody even seen them walk off. They would just be gone. Of course, at first, the rest of the team had just figured that maybe they got lost or something. But soon, they found out that wasn't the case. Alright, y'all, this is where it gets crazy. After about 5 or so members of the team had gone missing, one of the team members had been observing one of the 2 new species of dinosaur. He had camoed himself well and was lucky enough to capture one in the hunt. At this point, the group really only knew what they had observed physically about the beast. That it was a carnivore and it stood anywhere from 15 to 25 feet tall. It was one of the apex predators on these uncharted lands. That they were fast and ran anywhere from 30 to 40 miles per hour, and they had no real enemies, or competition for that matter, as even the much larger carnivores knew better than to even try to attack them. They avoided them completely, so the researchers sat in silence and watched as it stalked its prey, until finally it went in for the kill. That's when a sense of fear crawled over the researcher's body. He could not believe what he had just witnessed. It was absolutely terrifying. Up to this point, this seasoned veteran had been on numerous expeditions and seen many animals stalk and kill their prey, but nothing like what this creature just did. He watched the creature finish its meal and then sprinted back to base camp. He explained to them what he had witnessed, and they all agreed it was major cause for concern and that they needed to get out of Dodge. But before they left, in a last-ditch effort to maybe find their friends and chart much more vast areas of the land, they'd end up deploying something commonly used by researchers in their field, with a camera fixated on the bottom that could reach high altitudes. It enabled them to record for miles. So you're probably asking yourself, what brought them to these uncharted lands? Why was there a research group sent wherever they had gone? Apparently it took them days to get there and then days to return home. Well, according to @RavenGuru's research and her talks with these Chinese nail salonists, it stems back to a discovery made, I want to say at least 2 years ago, maybe more. Many of you probably remember it. The Dragon Man skull, discovered in China. The story goes almost 90 years ago, during World War II, when Japan occupied northern China, they forced a bunch of Chinese men into slave labor in building a bridge. The bridge was going to be built over the Songao River in Harbin. Well, one of these Chinese laborers just so happened to find a treasure when his supervisors weren't looking. It happened to be this complete human skull buried in a riverbank. Well, he knew that if they saw it, the supervisors would definitely take it. So he wrapped it up and he threw it down a well. And there the skull laid for decades, until the old man was on his deathbed and told his grandchildren about his experience. His grandchildren then went and found it and then donated it to science. And of course, it led to much heated debate among experts. Many believed it was Denisovan, while many believed it was Neanderthal. But rumor has it, the results of the DNA came back neither. It came back an undiscovered, new type being. And what does this have to do with the expedition? Well, apparently, they traced each lineage back to their location of where they are alleged to have lived. So they took these 2 locations and then found another location of where they could have possibly intermingled. And this is how they ended up in those uncharted lands. Again, this is all alleged. I'm not saying this is fact or anything like that. This is just the scenario that I heard. Regardless of its absolute validity, it's still an awesome story nonetheless. The location of where these researchers actually went has not been disclosed, nor has this really been shared much on the media, except in China. If it is true, it's amazing. They also said they saw giant pandas on these uncharted lands, 3 to 5 times larger than our pandas. It's even said that they may have found more fossil remains of this new breed of human. To conclude, the Chinese may be going back, they may not. I'm not really sure. I thought it was wild and interesting that they told their public or put it on their news, but I could see it happening. End of the day, what it came down to was they have a concern as to how that dinosaur tracked and killed its prey. It was like nothing they had ever seen. Advanced evolution, something along those lines possibly. Their concern is that if we ever have to cross paths with said dinosaurs, or somehow they make it to our inlands and breed, I don't know. That's all I could really think of about it. I just know that it said there's some really serious concern there. Obviously, I'm sure there's bits and parts missing, details, etc., but nevertheless, a crazy story after all. The big question is, where are these uncharted lands? It doesn't really make sense to me that there are any uncharted lands if the heliocentric model holds. But I'm not saying anything one way or the other. It's intriguing nonetheless. Let me know what y'all think in the comments about that. Where could these lands possibly be? I'm interested to see what y'all think. When I came across this video, I was super stoked, and I was glad I was going to be able to share it with you guys. Whether it's true or not, we don't really know. That's where your discernment comes in, as always. Either way, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Stay in the love, stay in the light, be kind to others, and look for a video coming up about Russian soldiers encountering an Anunnaki horde underground. That should be a good one. Be kind to others. I am out.